here will be the username of your GitHub GitHub email account, and then here you have to provide the user repository name of your repository. So it can be anything. So let's say call it to be a project A. It can be any name, or it can be the project you are working on. And here the description section. So our description section is something where you can provide that some details about what your repository is about. And then there is a third option. This is an optional. The third option is to make it a public or a private. So what these options imply is, so if you make it a public, so what's going to happen here is that this repository will be visible to everyone on the internet. So anyone on the internet can come and see. They can't modify this, but they can view your repositories and also can make suggestive changes. Okay. The next is private. So what happens in the private is you will have you are the person who can only view and edit your repository. No one else can see it. Then so depending on your requirement, whether it's a project which requires other people to work on, or it's a project which requires you to showcase it to the other world, outside world, or it's some internal project which you want to
Okay,
develop it
so
yourself. Yes. So depending on your need, you can suggest click on any of the options. The next thing is some few options. These are all optional, that you want to add a README file or not, add a getIgnore file or choose a license. So these all can be either included or not. So let's for this part, just keep everything to default and create a repository. So once you create a repository, something like this screen will appear, and this will actually suggest you that what you can do here. Like it shows you that create a new repository using your command line on your system, and then you can connect it with your remote repository. And here is an also some other things. So let's just forget this for now, and let's see the most simplest method using which you can actually work with this repository on your system. So okay, so for this particular thing, I'm actually using my Google Cloud, cause actually this will not work, cause there are some things which I like to show you, cause my GitHub is already configured, so I will not be able to show if I work with a local system. So that's why I'm working with the cloud here. You can work on a local system, it's fine. Because if I work there, and there are some things which actually appear for the new user, and people actually get confused to how to actually deal with this thing. So that's why. Okay, so just it will take some time to initialize. So in the meantime, so what we have done here is we have gone here on the GitHub, and from there we have created a repository using this plus button and provided the name of the repository. And that's how we have created this repository on our GitHub account. Now, once you've created this repository, it's the same like what we were doing on the local system. Only the thing is it's available on the github.com. Now we will actually import this repository back to our local system, and then we will work there. And once we will make our changes, suppose you may create some files or edit, modify some files, and then once you're done with it, once you've committed everything, then you will have to make back our changes available to this remote repository. So we are going to see everything, each and everything. So okay, so this is something your actually. So let me just open this thing, and here I am present, and I have I'm in my home directory as of now. So look. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going here to firstly import this repository. So how that repository is actually on the cloud. So how will that be available to a local system is using a command which is called the git clone. So this is the first command which will of how we work with this remote repositories. So it is git clone. So simply to type git clone, and then when you create a repository, you will actually be provided here with the two protocols and a URL. Just select the HTTPS one and this URL. So just click here. You can copy this URL and come here to back to a terminal or command line or git bash shell and just simply paste here that URL. So that's a URL. So git clone and the URL. Okay, just remember one thing. You don't have to be inside a repository on your local system. Just come out. Okay, so just if you don't require, then just keep your mic mute. That will be very helpful. So now we are using here git clone. You don't have to be inside a repository. So for example, if I have to do on my local system, so let's see, like I was working here with the desktop. So here for all my repositories, for example, project and git. So I don't have to go inside any repository. Just I will open my terminal directly here, git bash, and then I can simply type here like git clone and the URL, and that will work. So if I will now list all my files here, so here is now project A. So that's a repository that we have created, and that's now available to our local system. I can now navigate to this. Okay, sorry, I have gone to a different repository. So project, and okay, so this is a directory. And if I'll use your git status, so it will tell me that now I'm actually